We all remember where we were when Terri Schiavo died from dehydration and starvation. But many Americans have moved on, even forgetting about the injustice done to Terri. So we traveled to St. Petersburg, Florida, to remind you that the battle to protect patients like Terri still continue, and the people who loved her still grieve. After Terri Schiavo's death, I traveled to Florida to interview the Schindler family. During that time, we talked about Terri's life, her struggle to survive, and the future for the Schindlers. 4 years later, I sat down with Terri's brother, Bobby, sister, Suzanne, and mom and dad, Mary and Bob. They're still grieving from the wrongful death of their daughter, but today, they're helping to protect the rights of other people like Terri. Take me back to that horrific time when you were fighting to save Terri's life. What do you remember most?
The way we had to get in there to see her, you know. All the policemen around. They had policemen on the roofs. They had dogs up there. They had guards. Every few steps we took, there was a guard there where you get patted down, you know. And
what were they checking for?
Mostly water. You know, I was in the room one day and I went into her drawer and I got what do they call it? Lip gloss to put on her. All of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, and I'm not kidding, I saw this person come flying over the bed. It was a policeman, and he grabbed it out of my hand. And he said, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I said, "I'm putting gloss on her lips." I wasn't allowed to do that, you know, because her lips were all cracked and stuff, you know. And just everything. They treated us, I can't even begin to tell you how they treated us.
What do you think the #1 misconception is about what you were doing to defend Terri and save her life?
She wasn't brain dead. Yeah, she was active and she responded, but no one knew that.
I can't even begin to tell you the joy that she brought us when we went in there.
When you watch somebody die of such a barbaric death, that visual picture is just seared into the memory. So when I think back, unfortunately, I see her really pretty much the last moment that I was with her before she died. And when I think of that, that's what pops in my brain. The bad part, the visual of someone dying of dehydration and starvation.
Through all that, were there any good memories that you recall?
There were some good memories. The people, the support was amazing. I mean, people were coming from all around the world even, but just hopping on buses and planes and being there, wanting to be there for Terri and for her family. We met a lot of wonderful people, very loving, very supportive, and there were people that did a lot for Terri that day, the ones that even got arrested trying to bring water into hospice. So there was a lot of good memories of the people that we met and the support that was generated for Terri's life and for our family.
The nation was divided over the dehydration and starvation of Terri Schiavo, and some say the media is to blame. There are still many people passing judgment on the family's struggle to keep Terri alive. Recently, Rolling Stone magazine published a mock interview with President Bush, which clearly dehumanized Terri's fight for life. Bobby gave me his perspective of the media's role covering Terri's final days. What specifically has been your experience with the media in these ensuing years?
The distortion of Terri's condition. It seems to me that they want to reinforce or somehow convince the public that what our family did was wrong, that it was in Terri's best interest to kill her, and also cloud the issue. I think they deliberately cloud this issue, and what I mean by that is constantly referring to Terri and people like her as being on artificial life support, when in fact the only thing sustaining them is food and hydration, food and water.
Now recently you saw an especially egregious situation in the media in Rolling Stone magazine.
The Rolling Stone magazine was one of the most offensive things that I've read, making fun of my sister. It was a mock interview, a make-up interview with President Bush, and of course he was involved in Terri's case. And so in this mock interview, the Rolling Stone reporter asked President Bush about his involvement in Terri's case, and the answer was one of the most offensive things that I have read about my sister and describing Terri. And I don't know where it's coming from, why people can be so mean and nasty, not thinking that there's a family out there or parents that could possibly read something like this.
The reality is there are many families enduring the same struggle to keep a loved one alive and gain the right to care for that individual's life. When we return, we'll meet Randy Richardson and his daughter Lauren, who's been fighting for life since 2006. Randy's journey has led him to question the motives of our health system.
Whether you're a student needing answers, a parent needing help, or a concerned citizen wanting to make a difference, Life Issues Institute has the resources you need to put your values into action. Life Issues Institute is an international educational organization committed to protecting innocent human life. Life Issues Institute knows what it takes. That's why millions throughout the world turn here for help. Life Issues Institute has authored more pro-life publications than any other entity in the world, and its materials are printed in over 30 languages. Radio broadcasts, newsletters, and a website filled to the brim with the answers you're looking for are just a click away. Go to facinglife.tv and click on the link to Life Issues Institute to find out more about how you can change the heart of a nation.
Lauren Richardson nearly died after she suffered brain injuries from an accident. Doctors told her parents she was only going to survive for a few hours and was placed on life support. The hours passed. Lauren was 12 weeks pregnant, so her parents and the hospital agreed to keep Lauren on life support until the baby was viable. Weeks passed, and Lauren began to show signs of improvement, but still had no movement of her arms and legs and couldn't talk. After she gave birth to a baby girl, the fight for life began. Randy wanted to give Lauren a chance to live off of life support, but the hospital had another agenda. So how would you rate the medical system that has been taking care of your daughter from A to F? How would you rate them as far as being concerned about her welfare and helping her healing?
The doctor's care, as far as their approach and their mindset, an F. I will say this, throughout the process, one of our saving graces is the fact that we had some very compassionate nurses that came from behind the scenes to explain to me some of the things that were going on. Is one of the true reasons my daughter's still here.
Now, you and your family say that Lauren interacts with you. And basically the medical community is saying there's nothing there. Tell me why you think Lauren's aware and that she can interact with you. How does she do that?
My daughter cries when you mention her daughter. My daughter cries when you mention the situation she's in.
Does she react to her daughter?
Yes, her daughter's loud, which anybody would react to when she's in the room, but yeah, the first meeting was very sentimental, and they both were obviously in a strange area, and she was crying. Again, I don't know at this point if I'm dealing with someone in an 8-year-old mindset or an 18 or a 24-year-old mindset, because we just are getting to the point. The cruelty in the court system was they refused to allow her any medication and or treatment during this whole process of 2 years and 6 months. The court refused. We were not allowed to give her any therapy. We just started giving Lauren therapy 3 weeks ago, and we passed the swallowing test and all, and she's starting to enunciate words, which is a little better than the moans and the groans and the verbalization she's been doing.
So you and your family are optimistic that she may improve?
Absolutely.
In the years since Terri's passing, what have you learned about the judicial and medical systems?
Wow, a lot, an awful lot. We have learned that the medical community is very quick to deem people not worthy of treating any longer, and we've gotten involved in many cases now where people's lives have been not worth treating deemed what they call futile. And very quick rush to judge, withdrawing treatment, and really pushing to end people's lives, what we feel is very quickly.
Why is that? Why do they jump so quickly to write people off?
Well, I think one of the things we learn is a lot of people that don't have the insurance to pay for treatments have less of a chance of receiving treatment. But I also think that, I think it's a sign of our society these days with the general acceptance of the practice of euthanasia and about people not wanting to live like that, and the quality of life question that comes into play. And I think really that life isn't deemed as valuable as it should be. And it just, it's easier sometimes to not treat and just let go of someone that may need rehabilitation or treatment. And we see that frequently, too frequently, and people aren't given a chance.
So there are other families facing the same situation that you faced?
Oh, absolutely.
Families who are going through situations, like the Schindlers did with Terri, often have no support system. That's why her family founded the Terri Schindler Schiavo Foundation. What is the Terri Schindler Schiavo Foundation all about? What are you doing?
Our family is advocating for other families that are faced in similar circumstances. I mean, that's it in a nutshell, really, is to try to save the lives of individuals that are in jeopardy of being killed from our government, from whatever.
What are some of the examples of cases you've worked with?
A lot of them are fetal care cases. And this is what's so frightening, and so many people I think don't realize, is even if we have an advance directive, even if we have loved ones advocating for our lives, for example, even say Michael Schiavo and our family were fighting to keep Terri alive, to care for her. They have these fetal care laws now in place across the country in different states where doctors and hospitals can decide that if a situation is futile, they can stop life-sustaining treatment. They can stop food and water. So even in cases like, if we're in agreement, the hospital or doctors can come in and say, well, no, we're going to give you a certain amount of time to find another facility, and if you don't find another facility within 10 days or 2 weeks, we're going to stop life-sustaining treatment, in many cases food and water.
Coming up, Terri's father, Bob Schindler, talks about his role as a parent in his daughter's fight for life.
Thank you for inviting us into your home. Each week we feature real people who deal with real life issues head on. Some of their experiences are uplifting, while others will break your heart. But in the end, the message is clear. Those who follow biblical principles on the issues of life are blessed. Become a partner with us in providing a positive, life-affirming message to help change the way the next generation values innocent human life. Please consider a generous gift to help offset the costs of producing this important quality programming. You can donate on our secure website at facinglife.tv or by calling the phone number on your screen during normal business hours. Together, we can make a real difference for life.
Since Terri's death in 2005, Mary and Bob Schindler have spoken at many events sharing their story. But in the past 2 years, they've not accepted any speaking engagements or interviews. Bob is recovering from poor health, while Mary has dedicated her efforts to Terri's foundation. Today is the first time in 2 years they've granted an interview. Mary, what's your message to other families who may be going through what you and your family went through?
Well, I hope and pray that there's something in this country that's going to happen to change this, because in my life I wouldn't want anybody, I don't want anybody to go through this, but unfortunately there are. You know, all you can do is just, you know, pray to God that they don't suffer, you know, that they die sooner than they're supposed to, or, you know, that it's just a terrible, terrible, terrible death. And my heart goes out to anybody that has to go through this.
The starvation was,
it's just
the
awful.
dehydration was terrible. But I think with Terri, the thing that was so touching was to know that she could be helped. And they wouldn't help her. And that's what really destroyed me. It drives you crazy.
Yeah. It's got to be hard for a father not to be able to protect his daughter.
Well, you do when they're babies. You know, you go out of your way to protect them, and that's your role as a parent, to protect your children. And then you try and get them help, and you can't. And you're treated not as a parent, but as an outsider. You have no voice in the matter.
Even though it's still difficult dealing with her death, particularly my parents, because I know they continue to suffer. For a father not to be able to protect his child and have to sit back and watch his daughter die in such a horrible way. And it was horrible. It was something I could never describe to you, watching Terri slowly die over a period of 2 weeks. And knowing my parents, this is what they have to live with the rest of their life, and not being able to help their child, that's difficult.
When a person loses the ability to fight for their own life, it's a gift to have parents be an advocate for life. However, this isn't an easy journey, as Randy Richardson found out.
The reality is, in your faith, in your base, thou shalt not kill. There are basic truths to all of this, and I don't care who you are morally as a society. You know, they were telling me, oh, she should die with dignity. Show me the dignity of taking food away from a 22-year-old person. And she was deemed disabled by the courts of Delaware, and they wouldn't help her.
Well, that's what's so ironic about this, Randy, is that death by dehydration and starvation is a very cruel, painful, slow death, is it not?
Our state will not even permit that for prisoners. Yep, and the truth is, in our state code, you can get online for state of Delaware and you can look up animal cruelty. If you did that to an animal, you serve jail time. That's a fact. And yet they'll permit it on a human life. A human being needs certain things to survive. They need love, they need attention and interaction, they need shelter, they need food and water. It's exactly what you need. And that's all I wanted for my daughter, is to get her a chance. Now, in my daughter's case, the things that go along with that is therapy and to help her through a total recovery.
Family has to be part of that process.
Yes. Family, loved ones, friends.
What do you think, Suzanne, is the biggest misconception that the public had about what you were doing in your efforts to protect Terri?
I think the biggest misconception was Terri's condition. And we still, to this day, almost every day it's reported in the media, in print, or you're reading where Terri was brain dead, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Terri was not, I think people think when she was referred to as being comatose or vegetative state, the misconception is that someone's lying on a bed, hooked up to machines, respirators, and whatnot, and is being artificially pumped, like breathing and life into that person. But Terri wasn't hooked up to anything. She was fed through a tube at night, but she could be sitting next to me in a wheelchair, looking at you, and almost the best that she could, maybe trying to participate into the conversation. She couldn't really speak well, obviously, but she could vocalize. But I think that's the biggest misconception, that we weren't trying to keep someone alive that was clearly brain dead. We're talking about caring for someone that we loved. All we wanted to do was bring Terri home and care for her.
When we return, we'll find out how Terri's memory is being kept alive and is encouraging others to fight for life.
Whether you're a student needing answers, a parent needing help, or a concerned citizen wanting to make a difference, Life Issues Institute has the resources you need to put your values into action. Life Issues Institute is an international educational organization committed to protecting innocent human life. Life Issues Institute knows what it takes. That's why millions throughout the world turn here for help. Life Issues Institute has authored more pro-life publications than any other entity in the world, and its materials are printed in over 30 languages. Radio broadcasts, newsletters, and a website filled to the brim with the answers you're looking for are just a click away. Go to facinglife.tv and click on the link to Life Issues Institute to find out more about how you can change the heart of a nation.
The Schindler family lost the fight for Terri's life in 2005. Since then, they've dealt with their grief by establishing the Terri Schindler Schiavo Foundation and Terri's Day, a national day of remembrance for patients like Terri who struggle for the right to life. Now, Terri's Day is becoming an annual event. Tell me what that's all about.
It's to recognize only Terri's death, but all of our other vulnerable brothers and sisters in similar situations or conditions that Terri was in. So we have a Mass. We used to have it here locally in St. Petersburg, Florida. But this year we're very happy to announce that Ave Maria University, which is located right outside of Naples, Florida, is going to have the Mass down at their new oratory on the campus of Ave Maria University. Father Pavone will be celebrating the Mass, and Father Thomas Eitenhauer with Human Life International will also be there to celebrate the Mass.
Is there things that people who aren't Catholic can do to observe Terri's Day?
Oh, yes. Good question, actually. If they go to our website,